Fellow Rotarians and guests, it is my distinct pleasure to introduce Karen Wadell. Karen is the CEO of the House of Sophrosyne. She graduated from the University of Windsor and went on to receive her certification as a leadership life coach and certification from the Rotary School of Business for Health Leadership. Karen is very actively involved in the local Ontario health team system planning and the mental health and addiction strategy. As the CEO, her primary role is to ensure clients are receiving the quality of care they have come to expect from the House of Sophrosyne. Sophrosyne, a grassroots charitable organization, has been providing addiction programs to women and their families across the province since 1978. Since that time, the House of Sophrosyne has made great strides in improving and expanding their services to meet the needs of their clients. They provide a continuation of care that is built on best practices using a holistic, gender-specific, and harm reduction model of care. The House of Sophrosyne is second to none when it comes to treating those with substance use disorders. Please give your attention and welcome to Karen.
Thank you so much, everybody. And we were just talking, it's been maybe 10 years, close to 10 years when I was here the last time. So I remember going to the yacht club early in the morning. So a lot has changed with the organization. That's okay. First of all, I want to start out by saying, what a great way to start the morning. I love the enthusiasm, the fun, and so thank you. It is great. And that song that you chose today, I remember my mother teaching me on the piano when the Saints were marching in. So I knew that one well. Okay, so the House of Sophrosyne, we've come a long way in the last number of years. We actually have just listed our Chappelle property and have totally moved into the Adstall location now. So because of COVID, when COVID hit, we were forced to reduce our beds from 22 down to 7. And that really impacted what we could provide to the community in the way of addiction beds. Our wait list was growing way past a year, and people were literally dying waiting to come in and get the help that they needed. So with the support of the board, we decided at that time that we couldn't wait for the ministry to provide the funding. We had to do something and we had to act immediately. So we did an emergency renovation project that moved us completely over to the Adstall site. We received $500,000 from Ontario Health for that renovation project, but unfortunately that project ran way higher because the cost of lumber and all of the building supplies they decided to increase the prices, twofold at least. So it was I think it ended up costing us $800,000 from our own fundraising efforts. So it was 1.3, I think, million dollars. But we felt that we could not have an empty building sitting there when we had so many people calling us desperate for help. And as we know, COVID, people that never had a problem with alcohol or drugs before COVID, the isolation and the mere fear from the virus, the unknown, led people to start using substances to cope. And so that's why we ended up doing what we did. And we're very happy that we did. We have a facility now that we can go up to 24 individuals. So our wait time has reduced dramatically. We still have waits for our programs. But the other thing that it showed us as an organization, because we had been providing virtual services before COVID even hit, we were able to really quickly shift all of our programming from the community side to a virtual format. So we provided services. So we did, we just had our AGM, and we served over 1,800 unique individuals in the last fiscal year. And that included almost 9,000 face-to-face visits with individuals that needed services. So I think that was pretty extraordinary for my staff. They never missed 1 second of providing services. They were there, unless they ended up with COVID, but they were there continuously providing the services that our community needed. And as you know, you guys provide such a vital service in the fundraising and helping organizations. You know, we did our part as well in providing the services that individuals needed. So I was very pleased when I looked at those numbers, and to know that we have continued throughout that, that really difficult time, that we were there to be able to provide for clients that needed help, families that were desperate to, get their loved ones into some kind of service, even if it was virtual. It was something that would be able to tie them over so they could get into, a more intensive program. So when I talk about virtual services, we provided our housing clients with support throughout. Staff did drop-offs. We collected food and different supplies, and my staff would go and take it and drop it off on the porches of the clients that needed it. We started a intensive virtual addiction program, a regular addiction program, one-on-one sessions. We were able to do one-on-one sessions virtually with individuals. So we really ramped it up and kept the services going. So and to be able to provide that continuum, we developed new programs. Staff got creative, and that was so great to see. That how else can we provide services and programs? So they really got creative and would come and say, what if we do this? What if we do that? We'd like to start this. And so it was really, really great to see them, everybody just pull together and do what they needed to do. So we are using both sides of the building now. And what made this site that we chose and purchased years ago was it's a U shape. So we've got the administration in the front, we've got now our residential in the back, and this side is our community, all of our outreach programs. So what's our next steps? So our next steps are selling Chappelle, because we are carrying that building and it is costing the organization money. So we have gotten approval now, and it's listed. Those funds, because we had to pay so much for the other renovation, the funds that we were going to apply to the final project, we're still moving forward with the ministry. So we keep advancing through that process. So we're still on track for the final renovations through the ministry. So some of those areas that we renovated will stay, but we now, because of the demand, and because there's so many more people that are struggling with addictions, they know the need remains. So our renovation will include an addition on the back already of the school. That will be our residential site. All the group rooms will be, and counseling rooms will be in laundry and all of those. The dining area a lot of those areas will stay. And then we are responsible to pay for some of the areas that are not part of that original application to the ministry. So we will be renovating on our own the other area, the other wing. So it is coming together. I know when I think it was maybe a dream. I don't know. I don't even know when I presented last time where we were at in the process, but it's now, it's happening. So, but that, that's come really from our community, reaching out and helping us and supporting our events. And we all know how hard fundraising is. I'm hearing you, look, calling around for auctions for your events, and it's a lot more challenging because so many people are out there and fundraising now that it does make it a lot harder for everybody. But it is becoming a reality. We are getting there. We're getting closer and closer to our goal. And I wanted to say that, you know, Rotary has dropped off, you know, products for us that we've provided to the clients and donations. So we really appreciate every bit of support that you have provided the House of Sophrosyne, and we will continue to do our work and continue to serve individuals and make it happen for the organization. So, yes,
May I ask,
absolutely.
of your budget, I don't need to know
Yes.
dollars, but in terms of, say, percentage, how much comes provincially and how much comes municipally?
We don't get municipal funding, we get provincial funding. So 80% of our budget is provided from the government, and we have to fundraise for the other 20%. So we're now about a $4 million budget. So we are required to fundraise quite a bit throughout the year. We just received the way that a lot of the funding is coming now is very targeted. So it has to be, it's spent this way. You don't have that flexibility really anymore. The other thing is, so when we expanded and moved into the Wadell property, we did receive funding for some additional beds. So clients were supposed to be 2 to a room. I did apply for funding and received 7 new beds funding. But they're doing it now on a per diem basis. So there's no administration. It's just basically covering the cost of those 7 beds. And it's only one-time funding. So we received for 3 years. So we're really advocating hard to the government that, you know, at the end of the 3 years, we need that funding to continue. We can't lose that funding because, you know, it's going to cut our beds back down again. So fingers crossed that they will continue.
Can you give us an example of things that you would like or need donated?
Yeah.
So we can all put that kind of in a filing cabinet drawer?
Well, so some of the things we invited during the planning process for the drawings for the final build, we invited the Indigenous community. And we wanted to hear from them, how can we make this building that's more inclusive, more welcoming? And they asked us if we could do possibly raised garden beds so that we could plant sage for smudging. So that was something that they had suggested. Children's toys. We do a lot of work with moms, and moms have children. So children's toys is always something that, you know, educational toys is something.
Gently used toys?
Yeah. That's something that we could always, you know, use and provide moms, because moms are really struggling financially right now. So even if we can pass those along to moms, you know, for their children, that's always helpful. Yes.
Along the same line as Phyllis's question, if you were here to make a specific ask, which I know you're not, but if you were, for something fairly large and visible, what would that be?
Probably, I'm thinking, like it's the most, it's like Christmas, what toy? No, a gazebo, probably, in our courtyard would be a really nice area where the women, when they have their family come visit, a nice place for them to go outside and sit. We've got that beautiful courtyard, but you know, when we do things, obviously it's those that we really need. So the construction and all of that kind of stuff. But we always miss out sort of on the luxury things that are nice to provide the clients. So, you know, a gazebo would be a nice area for individuals where they can go and sit and enjoy, or visit with their children or their family members. So that would be something. What I could do is I could talk to my staff, because they're frontline. They know something that we might really, really need. So let me go back and then I can email if there's a couple other ideas.
Could you email those in the next couple of days?
I could do it probably by the end of today.
On the gazebo idea, large, like, or just a small.
Probably like a
family
nice, a
one, or
nice
big
size.
pavilion?
12
by
by
8
Yeah,
or
yeah,
12
yeah,
by
12 by 12 even, you
Or
know,
a
something.
pavilion
There is a
size?
nice room there.
More of a pavilion size thing, you know, like for family.
I think I saw one on Riverside Drive here.
I heard they're giving it away free at night.
No, are you familiar with that business?
No, I'm not.
Okay, that is
No.
referring to it.
You should go by Riverside Drive and take a look next to
Harbor House.
Harbor House.
Her house. Okay, okay, I will.
But that, you would want something that was enclosed, not wide open.
Probably a little bit more enclosed, yeah.
Kind of
would
a
be
3
good.
seasons
Yes,
sort of thing.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So that won't work well.
Start design.
Yeah.
Karen, could you tell us about the community housing you have?
Yes.
And also how long do your clients stay with you for the treatment?
Perfect. So our clients, I'll kind of break it up. So we've got our residential in-house program, and clients stay in that program for 5 weeks. But as we all know, addictions, you know, you're not all better in 5 weeks. That's the reality. So the way that we designed our program now is a woman can go 5 weeks into the in-house program. Then they could move if they needed to, and they still weren't quite feeling comfortable in their path to recovery. Then they could attend a virtual addiction program. And then they could go to aftercare. So they can stay engaged with us for as long as they want to and continue receiving support and programs, which to prove that that system works, we actually have hired recently 2 individuals that went through our various programs, our Mothers in Recovery. And we have a nurse working for us right now, and she's now been promoted to a manager position. She's been in recovery for, I think it's 6 years now, and she is doing amazingly well. So 2 staff just recently. So we know the program works. If they want it to work and they're willing to put the effort out, the program works. And the way it's designed is so beneficial because they can always be supported. And as you mentioned, that we also offer supportive housing. So we have a house on Strabane. That's a mom for women who have young children. And let's say they've lost custody because they were using. And they're really trying now. They've done our in-house program. They can now move into that transition house. And in there, they can stay up to a year. They continue being supported by staff. And I can't tell you the success that we've had with moms that are now in long-term recovery and have their children back in their care. So, you know, it's really done amazing for those individuals. And then we also have supportive housing. So let's say a person, you know, is homeless, they might be couch surfing, or they might have just lost housing because they couldn't afford, they come into a program. They don't even have to come into our residential, any program that they've accessed from the House of Sophrosyne. If we have a unit available and we have the dollars, we can provide a top up to their OW or ODSP, and then we can provide them greater amount towards their rent to get them a little bit better place. And that's ongoing, that's permanent housing. So we have 50 individuals in our housing program. So that's been really, really beneficial because we all know if somebody isn't housed and you're not providing those basic needs, how can you expect them to go into recovery? Because all they're focused on is where they're going to get their next meal or where are they going to live. So we need to ensure that their basic needs are met first in order for them to continue on that journey of recovery. Yes.
Karen, you've been doing this for quite a number of years.
Yes.
How has the nature of addiction evolved since you've been involved with this program? Because now it seems there's more substance abuse involved and not just alcohol.
Absolutely. To be honest with you, it's very, very rare that we get an individual that's an alcoholic. A lot of them are polysubstance users. The House of Sophrosyne, the way that we know that if somebody's coming to our in-house program, how realistic is it to expect them to come into treatment clean, right? If they could stay clean before they come into treatment, they don't really need that intensive of a program. They're doing it. So a lot of programs, they drug test, and if you test dirty, they send you home. Even if you come from North Bay and you show up at that door and you used within that last week and you test and it comes out positive, you go home. The House of Sophrosyne does it a little bit differently. We drug test them. We encourage them to come in clean, but we know it's unrealistic. So when they get there, we still bring them into the program. If they're struggling with withdrawals when they get there, we will send them to our local detox center and then bring them back. But in most cases, they might have done, as they say, a last hurrah. They knew they wouldn't be, they figured they wouldn't be using anymore. Where the struggles are is especially crystal meth and fentanyl, as we all hear. Fentanyl is huge, but crystal meth is really, really big. The problem with crystal meth is when you're using it, it changes the chemicals in your brain. And a lot of times it's irreversible. So it's because crystal meth is using products like Drano and all of those things. It is literally, if you see somebody that uses crystal meth and has been using it for years, literally it rots their teeth. It destroys them from the inside out. Their skin, you name it. So treating individuals is a lot more complex because they are using multiple different substances, and the substances are a lot harsher than what they were years ago. And you're right, I've been there 17 years now, and I have seen even individuals, and they'll wait on the wait list for 6 months, and then they come and they, after a few days, I can't do it. I just can't do it. The withdrawals are so significant and so difficult now that, they might go to withdrawal management, but it's still not long enough. So that's why we have that continuum. That's okay. If you can't do the in-house program, we can always start you off in virtual. Let's try getting your foot in the door, and even if you get a few days of recovery, they can see how good things can be. And then, okay, you know what? I just talked to one of my social workers, and one of the individuals that they work with, they've been doing one-on-one sessions with the caseworkers, and they've been doing some virtual programs. And she said, now I'm ready. I want to go into the in-house program. So not everybody has to go that path, but there's options now that they can, start off with a little bit less intense program and then move to a more intensive that deals and helps them with the trauma, because a lot of individuals, most individuals that we see come with some form of trauma. The other thing that we are seeing a lot of now is victims of human trafficking. So we, if there's a victim and they've been pulled out of that situation, we work very closely with the police and victim services. We're actually participating in a video that they're doing. And so the government will fund through the VQRP, Victim Quick Response Program, and they will pay for them to come into treatment. So we're averaging 2 of our, what were private beds, 2 of those beds now are being funded through this VQRP program. But even that, you can imagine somebody who's been, in human trafficking and, the experiences and the trauma that they have dealt with, and it is horrific. And then all of a sudden now they're put into a program. that's a lot to deal with for any individual. So we're trying to find somebody that we can partner with. And we've been talking to Heidi's House, that if they get this building that they're working on, that our women could go stay there in a safe environment, away from the human trafficking, stay there for a couple months, kind of just have time to just sleep, eat properly, be detoxed properly, and then come to our addiction programs. We feel that they're going to have a lot more success that way than just, here you go, now you're in treatment. You know, they're not even at that stage yet, but we do what we can. And even if it is an introduction and then they decide to come back, then, you know, we'll bring them back. So it is, to your question, in short, very complex today with the type of clients that we're dealing with, the drugs that are out there. And it's, you know, it's a lot more challenging for staff. It's a tough job. It's a tough job, but we do what we can.
You mentioned Heidi's House, which we're familiar with, we've supported the organization. Do you work with other agencies, i.e. Women's
Yes.
Welcome Center?
We work with many organizations. We probably have 20 formal MOUs with other organizations that we work in partnership with. Windsor Regional, their mental health unit, we're now going to be going up there and training their staff on addictions, signs of withdrawal, just basic. And we're going to be working with women, and actually not even just women and men that are on the unit, so that we can transition them and get them ready. Most recent partnership is probation and parole. There's a lot of individuals that have substance use disorder in the jails. And so now we go and we start working with them, introducing them to recovery. What does that look like? Because saying you want to go to a treatment program and actually getting in there and seeing, you got to get up in the morning, you have to make your bed, you've got chores, you've got structure, you've got programming, you know, is a lot different. So it's kind of getting them familiar with what treatment is going to look like. And then we transition them when they are released into our program. So there's a lot of different partnerships that we have, and really strong partnerships in the community to make our program better and to provide a complete wraparound service for the individuals.
We have one more question for Karen.
This has been very eye-opening. Thank you very much. What's the source of the name?
Where does the name come from? Sophrosyne is the Greek goddess of moderation, and it means a wise and balanced life. And that's what we hope to create for our clients.
We have a nice warm gift courtesy of the laptop to give you. Thank you for your presentation. I had to put it up there.
Yeah, I know.
Podium time for me, never mind.
I'm a
for you.
little challenged. in
So
that.
this is a gift from us. Thank you. And thanks for opening our eyes. And, you know, hopefully that building will sell. It'll help you also, you know, transition even better and create better opportunities.